There's a quiet kind of suffering that intelligent men carry, a pain that doesn't scream but burns beneath the surface. It's the curse of seeing too much, understanding too deeply, in a world that rewards noise over thought and obedience over truth. Schopenhauer once said that intelligence isolates, not because the intelligent man chooses solitude, but because the world leaves him no other option. The more a man sees, the less he belongs. He watches people chase illusions, money, pleasure, validation, and feels like an alien on his own planet. He tries to speak truth, but the world mocks him for arrogance. He seeks depth, but is surrounded by shallow laughter and empty ambitions. And so he grows silent, withdrawn, cynical. But that silence isn't weakness. It's self-defense. The intelligent man retreats, not because he despises humanity, but because he's exhausted by its foolishness. He wants meaning, but the world wants entertainment. He wants truth, but the world wants comfort. And so he struggles, not because he is lost, but because he sees too clearly. His struggle is not failure. It is proof of vision. In a stupid world, the man who thinks deeply is cursed to walk alone, haunted by a mind that cannot unsee. This is the tragedy Schopenhauer warned us about, and the secret strength hidden within it. Schopenhauer once said that intelligence is not a blessing, it's a curse disguised as insight. The more clearly a man sees the world, the harder it becomes for him to live in it. Most people chase pleasure, validation, and belonging, but the intelligent man sees through the illusion. He realizes that life, at its core, is not designed for happiness. It's driven by blind, ceaseless will, a will that devours itself endlessly. To understand Schopenhauer's view, you must first understand what kind of man he was. Born in 1788 in Danzig, now modern-day Gdansk, Schopenhauer was not merely a thinker, he was a man who saw too much. While his contemporaries celebrated optimism, progress, and reason, he stared directly into the abyss and found it absurd. He rejected Hegel's comforting ideas of rational progress and declared something far more disturbing, that existence itself is suffering, that life, stripped of illusion, is will, blind striving without purpose. But this insight, while horrifying, was also liberating, because to Schopenhauer, the intelligent man is the one who sees through the veil. He is the one who can no longer play along with the world's stupid games, chasing status, wealth, or applause, because he knows they're all bait on the hook of the will. And so he struggles, not because he is weak, but because he sees too clearly. Imagine walking through a carnival where everyone is laughing, eating, flirting, and suddenly you realize none of it is real. The smiles are masks, the laughter echoes of despair, and the music? Just noise meant to drown out the silence of meaninglessness. You try to tell someone, but they laugh it off. You're ruining the fun. You're too serious. That's the curse of intelligence in a stupid world. You wake up in a dream that everyone else insists is reality. Schopenhauer saw the intelligent man as doomed to isolation, not by choice, but by awareness. He's like a man standing on a mountain peak, watching storms gather below. He can see the truth, but he can no longer descend and pretend it's sunny. He knows that suffering isn't the exception of life, but its very foundation. Everything that lives must consume and be consumed. Every desire fulfilled gives birth to another hunger. The wheel never stops turning. And so to live intelligently, Schopenhauer believed, is to suffer consciously. It is to recognize that happiness is not found in acquisition, but in detachment. The wise man learns not to chase the next high, but to escape the machinery of wanting itself. Yet here lies the paradox. Intelligence makes this realization possible, but it also makes detachment harder, because the intelligent man sees all the possible meanings, contradictions, and outcomes.
He cannot find peace in ignorance, but he cannot find joy in awareness either. It's like being cursed with too much light. You see every flaw, every lie, every shadow. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the silent pain of those who think deeply. Schopenhauer compared human life to a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom. When we desire something, we suffer because we lack it. When we finally get it, we suffer again, this time from emptiness. The stupid world keeps people swinging between these poles without ever noticing, but the intelligent man, aware of this motion, feels trapped in the rhythm of futility. He doesn't swing mindlessly, he watches himself swing, and that awareness becomes unbearable. This is why Schopenhauer argued that intelligent men retreat, not out of arrogance, but out of exhaustion. The noise of the crowd becomes unbearable when you can hear the silence beneath it. He wrote that the man of intellect feels like a stranger in a foreign land, surrounded by people, yet alone in understanding. And so the struggle begins, not between man and others, but between man and existence itself. The intelligent man wrestles with the futility of his own mind. He sees the suffering that sustains the world and feels powerless to change it. Every attempt to engage feels like pretending. Every success feels hollow. You can see this tragedy in today's world as clearly as Schopenhauer saw it 2 centuries ago. The more information, the more access, the more awareness, the less peace people have. Intelligence doesn't shield you from chaos. It exposes it. It's why so many intelligent men feel alienated, why they drown in analysis, why they find it hard to belong. Because to fit into a stupid world, you must first betray what you see. And Schopenhauer would say, that betrayal is the true death of the intellect.
To survive, the intelligent man must do what few can: turn inward. Schopenhauer believed that art, philosophy, and contemplation were the only refuges from the tyranny of the will. In beauty, we find a glimpse of transcendence, a momentary escape from striving. In music, we hear the voice of the world stripped of words. In philosophy, we confront truth, even if it breaks us. But even this escape is fragile, because the will always returns. The noise creeps back in. The world demands your participation, and no matter how clearly you see its stupidity, you still must live within it. That, Schopenhauer believed, is the tragedy of intelligence, to understand the world deeply, but remain chained to it. In his own life, this tension consumed him. He was mocked by peers, ignored by universities, and overshadowed by thinkers he considered inferior. He once remarked, bitterly, that the public prefers what flatters it to what enlightens it. That's the curse of genius. The crowd will celebrate the fool who entertains them, while ignoring the man who exposes their illusions. Schopenhauer's philosophy was not meant to comfort. It was meant to wake you up, violently, to strip away the comforting lies of optimism and progress and force you to look directly at suffering as the essence of life. And yet, buried within his pessimism was a strange kind of hope, because once you accept that suffering is the rule, not the exception, you stop resisting it. You stop chasing the mirage of someday. You begin to live differently, not seeking happiness, but peace. That's the paradox Schopenhauer left us with. Intelligence may isolate you, but it can also liberate you. The more you understand the world's stupidity, the freer you become from its grip. You stop expecting it to make sense. You stop demanding it to be fair. And in that surrender, you find something rare: clarity. The world may remain stupid, but you no longer have to suffer because of it. To understand Schopenhauer today, you don't need to live in 19th century Germany. You just need to open your phone, scroll for 30 seconds, and you'll see it. the worship of noise, the glorification of ignorance, the endless parade of vanity disguised as confidence. We live in a world that rewards conformity, not intelligence, a world where attention is currency and depth is punished by indifference. Schopenhauer would have looked at this modern circus and whispered, "I told you so." The intelligent man today faces a unique kind of hell. He is awake in a world that demands sleep. He sees through manipulation, trends, and moral posturing, and because of that, he can no longer participate in them sincerely. He sees that people don't argue to find truth, they argue to win. They don't seek understanding, they seek validation. And the moment he speaks a truth that cuts too deep, he becomes the enemy. In relationships, this awareness becomes even more isolating. Schopenhauer once said that love is merely the will to life, nature's trick to continue the species. To the intelligent man, this realization feels like a betrayal, because he wants love to mean something higher, a meeting of souls, not just bodies. But the more aware he becomes, the more he sees how much of human romance is driven by biology, not transcendence. He sees people falling in love with projections, not persons, with fantasies, not realities. And when he refuses to play along, he is labeled cold, detached, unromantic. It's not that he doesn't feel, it's that he feels too much, too deeply, and cannot bear the shallow repetitions of what others call connection. Modern dating thrives on illusion, curated perfection, emotional impulsivity, constant validation. But the intelligent man, trained to see through illusion, cannot find nourishment there. He longs for something real, yet everything around him is performance. Schopenhauer wrote that the person of genius suffers most when surrounded by mediocrity, and that statement feels prophetic now. Scroll through social media and you'll see how brilliance has been replaced by bravado, thoughtfulness by outrage, true confidence by constant display. The intelligent man who speaks slowly, thinks deeply, and refuses to sell his soul for attention is invisible, because in a world run by algorithms, reflection is a sin. He is told to dumb it down, to make it relatable, to soften his words so no one feels uncomfortable. But intelligence, by nature, makes people uncomfortable. It shatters illusions. It confronts hypocrisy. It asks questions that cannot be answered with emojis and slogans. And so the intelligent man becomes the villain, the pretentious intellectual, the buzzkill. Society celebrates simplicity, but secretly resents depth, because depth demands self-awareness, and self-awareness hurts. But Schopenhauer would not have told him to fight this world. He would have told him to understand it, to see that stupidity isn't an accident, it's a survival mechanism. Most people can't afford to think deeply because it threatens the delicate illusion that keeps them functioning. The world runs on distraction because truth, if faced directly, would paralyze most people. That is why the intelligent man struggles. He sees through the script, yet must still play his role within it. He must earn money, socialize, participate, all while knowing that none of it truly matters in the grand design. It's not cynicism, it's lucidity, and lucidity hurts. In the modern workplace, for example, intelligence often becomes a liability. The man who questions inefficient systems, who challenges groupthink, who refuses to flatter authority, becomes a target. Mediocrity protects itself through numbers, and so the intelligent man learns to play small, to hide his insight behind a polite mask, to avoid the loneliness of being right too soon. Schopenhauer himself experienced this. His lectures were ignored while Hegel's halls overflowed, not because Hegel was deeper, but because he was popular. The crowd always prefers comfort to truth. In friendships, the intelligent man often finds himself detached, not because he doesn't care, but because he can see the hidden motives,
the quiet competitions, the fragile egos. He becomes an observer of human behavior rather than a participant. He watches as people destroy themselves chasing validation, as they talk endlessly but say nothing, as they call boredom love and fear morality. It's exhausting to see so much and to remain silent, but speaking truth only isolates him further.
Even spiritually, intelligence becomes a double-edged sword. The more you understand the mechanisms of desire, the illusion of ego, the randomness of existence, the less you can find comfort in traditional faith. The stories that once offered meaning now feel symbolic, not literal. The rituals feel hollow. Yet nihilism brings no peace either. So the intelligent man drifts, too aware for blind belief, too sensitive for cold atheism. Schopenhauer himself found partial refuge in Eastern philosophy, particularly Buddhism, which mirrored his belief that liberation comes from the negation of desire. But even that escape requires an act of will, and the will never truly dies. In modern society, the intelligent man lives with a quiet torment, knowing he must use the very tools of illusion to survive within it. He must sell his skills, market his worth, play by systems designed by lesser minds, all while knowing that these systems are absurd. He must nod in meetings, smile at ignorance, pretend enthusiasm where there is none, because the alternative is exile. It's the same paradox Schopenhauer lived. To see life clearly is to lose the ability to enjoy it naively. But perhaps the deepest pain for intelligent men today is emotional exile, the feeling that no one truly understands them. In a world that values appearance over essence, being understood becomes rare. You can be admired, envied, even desired, but seldom seen. And when you're not seen, you begin to withdraw. You stop trying. You learn the art of silence. Not because you've given up, but because you've accepted the futility of explaining depth to those who only skim the surface. But Schopenhauer would argue, this isolation, while painful, is sacred. He wrote that, to be alone is the fate of all great minds, a fate deplored at times, but always chosen. The intelligent man's solitude is not punishment. It is the soil in which his mind grows. The world's noise cannot reach him there. His struggle is not against stupidity, it's against despair. To see the futility of the world and still choose to create, to love, to think, that is the ultimate act of defiance. The intelligent man must stop seeking belonging in a world that fears thought. He must build his own world through art, philosophy, mastery, and detachment. He must learn to live with stupidity without becoming part of it, to watch without judgment, to participate without illusion, to love without possession. That is how Schopenhauer's truth applies now more than ever. Because the world will never stop being stupid, it is designed to be that way. But the intelligent man's task is not to fix it. It is to see through it, survive it, and transcend it. The pain of awareness never leaves, but it becomes lighter when you stop demanding the world to understand you. The intelligent man's peace comes not from being seen, but from seeing clearly. Schopenhauer never promised that intelligence would make life easier. He knew the opposite was true. But he did offer a way to live with it, not through escape, but through understanding. His philosophy wasn't about changing the world. It was about surviving it with your sanity intact. About walking through absurdity without becoming absurd yourself. If you are a man who feels too much, thinks too deeply, and sees too clearly, the first lesson is this. Stop expecting the world to reward your intelligence. The world rewards conformity, not wisdom. It praises noise, not insight. Waiting for it to value depth is like waiting for a mirror to show you your soul. It cannot. It was never built for that. So you must create your own reward. You must turn inward and make meaning privately. Not every truth is meant to be shared. Some are meant to be lived in silence. The second, embrace solitude without self-pity. Schopenhauer believed solitude is the natural state of an intelligent mind. The more you grow, the less company you find. But that isolation can be fertile. It's where you develop your individuality, your clarity, your resilience. The world tries to convince you that solitude is failure, that to be alone is to be unloved. But for the intelligent man, solitude is a sanctuary, not a sentence. It's where noise dissolves and truth begins to whisper. The third, stop trying to be understood by everyone. You won't be, and that's not a flaw. It's a sign you're not deluding yourself to fit in. Schopenhauer wrote that the wise man will be like a solitary traveler in a strange land. Most people do not think, they merely repeat. If you try to explain deep truth to shallow ears, you will only exhaust yourself. Speak less, observe more. Let silence protect your energy. You do not need to argue with stupidity. Just outlive it. The fourth, detach from outcomes. This was Schopenhauer's great battle, the war against the will. The will is that inner hunger that drives everything. Desire, ambition, lust, attachment. It's the force that keeps men restless, endlessly seeking what they don't have. To live wisely, Schopenhauer said, is to learn to subdue that will. Not by killing desire completely, but by mastering it, by no longer being enslaved to it. When you stop demanding that the world give you meaning, peace begins to appear in quiet places, in small joys, in stillness, in thought. The fifth, embrace the ugliness of truth. The intelligent man suffers because he refuses to lie to himself. He knows that most of what people call hope is just denial with better lighting. But that honesty, that refusal to self-deceive, is your greatest strength. It gives you a foundation that will not crumble when the illusions of others collapse. You must carry truth not as a burden, but as armor. It will make you lonely, yes, but it will also make you free. The sixth, channel your suffering into creation. Every intelligent man must build something that outlives his pain. Write, compose, teach, build, it doesn't matter what. The act of creation turns despair into discipline, awareness into art. Schopenhauer himself said that art is a temporary escape from the tyranny of the will, a moment where the observer becomes pure perception, detached from desire. That's why the most profound works in history come from those who suffered deeply. Their pain became structure. Their awareness became light.
The seventh, do not argue with fools. It sounds harsh, but it's vital. When you argue with someone who cannot understand your point, you're not teaching, you are bleeding. Schopenhauer warned that to dispute with a fool is like letting him drag you down to his level. Silence is power. Learn to walk away from noise. Let the ignorant shout. Wisdom whispers. The eighth, accept that happiness is rare. This doesn't mean surrender to misery. It means stop chasing constant pleasure as a sign of success. Schopenhauer believed that life is more about the absence of suffering than the presence of joy. Peace isn't fireworks. It's quiet. It's control over your own mind. The intelligent man must learn to find beauty in stillness, meaning in melancholy, and gratitude in impermanence. When you stop expecting life to be paradise, the smallest joys become sacred. The ninth, observe without absorbing. You cannot stop the world from being shallow, loud, and foolish, but you can stop letting it infect you. Train yourself to see everything, the vanity, the chaos, the hypocrisy, without letting it take root in your mind. Be like the philosopher walking through a carnival, observing every trick, every deception, every spectacle, and smiling faintly, knowing that none of it can touch him. That is the essence of inner freedom. And finally, the 10th, turn awareness into wisdom. Intelligence without wisdom becomes bitterness. Schopenhauer's greatest warning was that knowledge alone can corrode the soul. If you see too much and feel too little, you become cold. But if you feel too much and understand too little, you drown. Wisdom is the balance, to see reality clearly, but to act with grace anyway. To know that life is flawed, yet still find ways to love, to create, to teach, to serve, not because the world deserves it, but because your nature demands it. That is the art of surviving as an intelligent man in a stupid world. You stop expecting clarity from others. You build it within yourself. You stop chasing meaning outside. You create it inwardly. You stop fighting the storm. You become still inside it. And in that stillness, the struggle ends. Not because the world becomes wise, but because you have learned to be free within its madness. Schopenhauer's truth isn't a comforting one. It doesn't offer salvation, nor does it promise reward. It strips everything away, the optimism, the illusions, the lies that keep most men asleep, until all that's left is the raw, unfiltered experience of existence. But within that brutal honesty lies something rare, liberation. Because once you stop demanding the world to be wise, you begin to see that peace isn't found in fixing it. It's found in transcending it. The intelligent man's struggle isn't to fit in or to be understood. His struggle is to remain himself in a world that constantly rewards imitation. He is the quiet observer in a room of noise, the thinker in an age of distraction, the soul who still feels deeply, even when the world mocks sensitivity as weakness. Schopenhauer would tell you this: if you feel alien in your own time, you are not broken, you are awake. The pain you carry isn't a defect. It's proof that you still see, still question, still refuse to become numb. The stupid world cannot scare the intelligent man once he stops expecting it to be different. It loses its power when you see it for what it is, a stage of actors chasing applause, a carnival of desire spinning endlessly toward nowhere. And so the true test of intelligence is not how much you know, but how deeply you can endure knowing, how gracefully you can bear awareness without collapsing into despair. Because wisdom is not brightness, it is shadow. It is knowing that everything passes, everything fades, everything deceives, and still you walk on, still you create, still you love in your own quiet way, without needing the world to understand why. Schopenhauer's wisdom was merciless, but it was also sacred. He looked into the void and refused to lie about what he saw. Yet even in that darkness, he found moments of light. In music, in contemplation, in solitude. He discovered that the intelligent man's redemption is not in escaping the world, but in seeing it clearly and choosing not to be poisoned by it. So, when the world feels unbearable, when you feel too awake, too aware, too alone, remember this: You were not meant to blend in. You were meant to see, to think, to feel, to suffer consciously, and in doing so, to rise above the unconscious suffering that enslaves the rest. The world will remain stupid, shallow, and loud, but intelligence is the quiet rebellion, the refusal to sink into madness, the silent light that burns, even when no one notices. That, Schopenhauer would say, is the burden and the beauty of being awake. To live fully in a world you have already seen through, and to still find peace in the knowing. Because only the man who has seen the truth can finally stop running from it. Only the man who accepts the futility of desire can finally rest. And only the man who has struggled to remain sane in a stupid world can truly be called